The Super Eagles will be flying to London in June, and Ayo has the details on sports news.
Yes, indeed, Melinda. Well, the English Football Association has confirmed the international friendly with the Super Eagles of Nigeria, which will be played on June the 2nd at the Wembley Stadium. The General Secretary of the Nigeria Football Federation, Mohammed Sanuni, had hinted in December that there were plans by the Super Eagles to face the Three Lions in June, with no specific date announced. Now, the organisers have hinted that they expect a full house at Wembley for the high-profile game against the three-time African champions. Well, the match will be only the third between both nations at senior level and will serve as the Super Eagles' final preparatory game for the FIFA World Cup finals in Russia. Heartland Football Club of Owerri are already eyeing the Nigeria Professional Football League title on their return to the top flight. Head coach of the squad, Ramson Madu, is full of confidence that the team have got what it takes to contest with the rest of the teams in the league. Now, the NPFL season begins this weekend, and Heartland are up against Sunshine Stars of Akure in their opening match.
My players will follow my footsteps. My target is to win the Premiership League. So I will put it in them that they should follow my footsteps, to have it in their minds that their coach, what I needed now as a coach is Premiership medal. That is my target. I know that they listen to me, they cooperate with me, they love me, so they will help me to achieve that. We are facing Sunshines of Akure. They are preparing, we are preparing, but at the end, I know that God help us to give us the 3 points.
Former world number one Novak Djokovic says he intends to play in the Australian Open for now. The Serb returned after 6 months out with an elbow injury to win 6-1, 6-4 against world number 5 Dominic Thiem at the Kooyong Classic. Djokovic, who has dropped to number 14 in the world, will be chasing a record 7th Australian Open title if he competes in the tournament, which begins on Monday. However, potential 5-set matches in Melbourne will hold some fitness concerns for the 12-time Grand Slam champion. Kwara Falcons Basketball Club have parted ways with coach Aderemi Adeomi along with his assistants after failing to renew his contract. The club secretary Bello Aziz said both parties decided to put an end to the relationship to allow the coach concentrate on his national team assignment. Adeomi joined Kwara Falcons on a temporary basis in 2014 before signing a permanent contract in 2015. And that's a wrap in sports news. Melinda will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Ayo. In Tunisia, over 200 people have been arrested in protests against the government's austerity measures. At least 49 police officers were said to have been injured during clashes with demonstrators. The protesters took to the streets despite the government's assurances that 2018 would be the last difficult year, promising to end economic hardship. So far, one person is reported to have died in the demonstration, which has taken place in at least 10 different parts of the country in the last couple of days. The protests, which began peacefully last week, turned violent on Monday evening. Let's move to South Africa, where President Jacob Zuma says he plans to set up a commission of inquiry into allegations of influence peddling after a 2016 anti-graft report called for investigations into any form of corruption in his government. Mr. Zuma was ordered to set up the inquiry within 30 days of a High Court ruling last month, which upheld the recommendations of South Africa's corruption-fighting public protector. This announcement comes a day before a meeting of the ruling African National Congress Executive Committee, amid speculation that the leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, and his allies are lobbying members to oust Mr. Zuma as president. But the 75-year-old is no stranger to such controversies, as he has survived several votes of no confidence in Parliament. In the United States, rescue workers in Southern California continue to search for survivors after mudslides and flooding killed at least 15 people. More than 30 miles off the main coastal road has been closed because, according to the police, the scene looks like a war zone.
We had a very difficult time assessing the area.
The spokesperson for the Santa Barbara County Fire Department, Amber Anderson, says the number of those killed by mudslides in California is expected to rise from at least 13. But rescue efforts will become easier after the powerful rainstorm heads west and the skies are clear. Santa Barbara County Sheriff says that efforts will continue in search for victims where mudslides slammed into homes, covered highways and swept away vehicles.
While we hope it will not, we expect that this number will increase as we continue to look for people who are still missing and unaccounted for.
The upscale communities of Montecito and Carpinteria, just outside the city of Santa Barbara, were the hardest hit. Over the past month, California's scenic coastline was ravaged by a series of intense wildfires that burned off vegetation. Emergency workers are using search dogs and helicopters to rescue dozens of people stranded. The Santa Barbara County Fire spokesperson says only 10 to 15% complied with the directive that residents along the Pacific coast north of Los Angeles should evacuate the area.
And the main news again. The federal government today reaffirmed its resolve to end the killings in Benue State by suspected herdsmen. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said this after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja, just as the Army announced the deployment of special forces to tackle the violence in Benue, Taraba and Nasarawa states. Also today, the Inspector General of Police arrived in Benue State in line with the President's directive and promised to investigate allegations of militia camped in Nasarawa State. The IGP also apologized to the indigents over his comments in Abuja, attributing the attacks in Benue State by suspected herdsmen to communal clashes. And over 200 persons were today arrested and about 49 police officers injured on the second night of protests against economic hardship in Tunisia. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Melinda Akinwami.